Well, we should tell them. Here I am. I'm preparing a lesson for next semester. We're going to do some literary analysis in my critical thinking class. I picked up my Best American Short Stories of the Century, edited by John Updike and Katrina Kennison. And there's a story by Flannery O'Connor called Greenleaf. And Flannery O'Connor has a real preoccupation with the sin of pride. So I'm reading the short story about this horrible family, one of the worst families you'll ever read about. Everyone in the family is morally rotten. And it all starts at the top with Mrs. May. And don't worry, this is not going to be some long literary explication. I would never do that to you. So Mrs. May is a rotten human being. She thinks she's better than everyone else. She sees herself as a victim. She blames everyone else for all of her problems. She doesn't have the courage to admit her wrongdoing. She's just morally rotten. She has no moral core. She essentially predicates her sense of well-being on appearances and on thinking she's classier than everyone else. She really hates life because she sees everyone else getting a better bargain than she gets. Now, not surprisingly, she has two old sons. They're like in their 30s. They're morally obnoxious losers. They're incapable of love. They are undateable. They're rude to their mother. They're sloths. They have no fire. They're essentially walking zombies. And she just feels so persecuted by this. Like, what did I do? A great mother like me. She's always harping on them to get married and find a woman, but they suffer from this lethargy and this bitterness. They're very rude to their mother. And there's a cliche that I like. I always believe that about 5% of cliches in the world are quite good or quite appropriate. Here's a cliche that's quite good. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Yes, her sons are as morally rotten as she is. So here I am, I'm preparing for this story, and it got me to thinking about pride. Pride is a fascinating force in our lives, and as I was thinking about it in preparation for my students, it occurred to me that pride in the context of this story is clearly a disease. Pride is clearly a pejorative term, and I want to explore that in this presentation, and I also want to explore at the end of this presentation a different flip side meaning of pride, when pride is a powerful, uplifting, healthy force in your life. So let's first look at pride as a disease. I think it has 5 distinguishing characteristics. The first distinguishing characteristic of pride is this elevated grandeur, this assertion of one's superiority in the world, and this elevated grandeur and this sense of superiority is based on a false premise, like, oh, I'm richer than you, I'm better than you. I'm younger than you, I'm better. My watch is better than yours. I have better taste than you. I'm more beautiful than you. I'm more classy than you. I come from a higher socioeconomic class than you. I'm more educated. I have this amazing intellect. I have more manners. I have more books in my house than you. I don't watch as much TV in my house as I do. I'm more green than you, man. I recycle more than you. I clean up my dog's mess, unlike you. All of these assertions of elevated superiority and grandiosity speak to the disease of pride. Now, what you'll find with people who have this disposition, they're extremely unhappy. And this goes to our second distinguishing characteristic of pride. The proud person always feels like a victim. Why? Because you are so special in this world that you are surrounded by a confederacy of dunces who don't understand you. I'm so misunderstood. I'm so alone in this world. These idiots just don't understand what I go through. My problems, my pain, my suffering is so special. It speaks to the uniqueness of my character, and no one understands it. Why did God put me on this world? Oh, woe is me. You know what I mean? So You assert your elevated grandiosity. You see yourself as a victim. Number three, there's a blindness to pride. There's a certain type of blindness. You blame the whole world for all of your sorrow, when in fact, who's your worst enemy in life? It's you. You are your own worst enemy. You can't see that you sabotage all of your efforts for happiness, and because you're so preoccupied with blaming the world. I believe that about myself. I would say most of my problems, they come from me. I admit it. What I find fascinating, I hope that helps my life a little bit, that I admit it. I don't know. I don't know. The fourth distinguishing characteristic is that you are so proud you can never admit wrongdoing, to the point that you would rather drag yourself through a prolonged hell than just come clean and, suffer the humility, the short-term humility, and then get on with your life. But no, when you're proud, even if you've made a mistake, you won't admit to it, and you'll just live through the suffering of that mistake. I'll give you an example. George Costanza is a very proud, grandiose man. He's bald. He's neurotic. I've had actually people say that I remind them of him. I actually prefer it when people say, "You remind me of a Navy SEAL." That's far more flattering, but whatever. There's an episode of Seinfeld where George is in the diner with his friend Jerry, and he's describing the misery he's going through. Why is he miserable? Because George hates his girlfriend. He hates her. And he hates her relationship. It's making him absolutely miserable. And, Jerry gives him reasonable advice. He says, "George, why don't you just break up with her?" And he goes, "I can't break up with her. All my friends, all my life have been telling me that I'm too immature to be in a relationship. I gotta prove them wrong, damn it." And so that's a delicious irony for you, that you're going to be in a relationship that you hate because of your pride. So that is the fourth distinguishing characteristic of pride. Number 5, the final one. You don't swallow your pride until you hit rock bottom, until someone hands you your butt on a stick. That's something I heard on a Mark Maron podcast. I love that metaphor. In life, sometimes, you hit rock bottom, and life hands you, or your boss hands you, or your girlfriend, or your ex-girlfriend, or your ex-wife, or someone in your life hands you your butt on a stick, and you're devastated. But let's be honest, this is hope. This is the beginning of a new life. This is the beginning of looking at pride as a healthy force, is learning how pride can be healthy. I had my butt handed to me on a stick. Someone in my life taught me the positive, healthy version of pride, and that person is my father. My father is a military man, very proud man, very strong man. He has no patience for lollygagging, for lies, for prevaricating, for quibbling. He likes truth, and he likes cleanliness, and he likes healthy pride. By healthy pride, I mean you have conviction of your hard work. You have conviction of the high standards you set for yourself. This is pride in the positive, healthy sense. My father had to teach this to me when I was 9 years old. Now, up to the age of 9, I was a slob, and I thought I had life all figured out. My goal in life was to do no chores and to be a slob. And not surprisingly, my bedroom manifests my slobbishness. My bed was never made. My sheets were disgusting. They're all tangled up. My clothes were strewn all over the floor. In my desk, my bottom drawer, it was my designated junk drawer. You open it up, I just throw junk in there. Perhaps the worst thing, though, was my toy box. My toy box was just a repository for filth. I would just throw filth in there. I mean, pretty much it was a dumpster. Now, my father, who likes cleanliness, military man, he avoided my bedroom. But what happened was my mother was complaining about a very disconcerting smell coming from my room. And she was harping on my father. "There's something in his room, man. I don't like it. Check it out." So my father goes in there, my room, I'm in there. And my father has this long lecture stick. He's holding it like a club, and it's very intimidating. And he's holding a handkerchief over his nose. So I know he's not pleased by what he smells in there. And he does an investigation of my bedroom. And he's looking with absolute disgust at the filth in my room. And I know I'm in trouble just based on his body language. And I know I'm in even bigger trouble when he takes his lecture stick and he pries open the lid of my toy box. And he rummages around in there with a stick, and he's looking around, and he smells something. He's making this face, and it's like when he opens the toy box, this hot vapor rises into his face, and he's covered with sweat. I'll never forget the look of his face. And then his eyes widen. He goes, "Aha!" And he takes his lecture stick and he picks up a filthy, dirty piece of underwear that I'd thrown in there like 2 years earlier. Now, this underwear was so old and so rancid that bacteria had grown all around it, and it looked like it was growing hair out of it, stray feathers. It seemed to be encrusted in like a filthy bird's nest. And because of the bacteria, I almost sensed that it was moving, as if the bacteria had brought it to life. And my father's holding it up to my face with a stick, and he's pinching his nose with his other hand. And he says, "Is this underwear, son?" And I said, "Yes." "Why is it in your toy box?" I go, "I don't know, sir." "Did you think some underwear fairy was going to come in through your window and get it out of the box and clean it at night?" And I said, "No, sir." "Did you think someone was just going to wash it for you and it was going to be magically clean for you?" "I don't know, sir." He goes, "I'll tell you what, son. I'll be damned if I'm going to let my son put his messes away, hide them somewhere in life, and then expect other people to clean them. Now here's what you're going to do. You're going to take this filthy piece of underwear, you're going to put it in that empty Captain Crunch box in the garbage, and you're going to staple the top of it, because I don't want that underwear falling out. And then you're not even going to throw it away in our garbage. You're going to throw it away in the neighbor's garbage when they don't see. Because I don't want that underwear traced back to our house, because that will defile, disgrace, and shame our family name. You understand me? And when you're done with that, you're going to clean your room. You're going to make it spick and span. Do you hear me, son?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And for the first time in my life, man, I had my butt handed to me on a stick. I was humiliated by my father holding that encrusted bird nest of underwear right up to my face with a stick and lecturing me and talking about the underwear fairy. I was completely crushed, and I could just see the look of disappointment in my father's face. So I worked my butt off, man. I spent the rest of the day cleaning my room. I disinfected it. I had Ajax, Clorox, everything. And after my room was clean, I have to confess, I felt a hell of a lot better. I had this instilled pride, and it was as if having a clean room gave me this organizing principle in my brain, and I could see my life and everything more clearly. And I have my father to thank for that. So, pride is a disease in one sense, but it's also an uplifting, healthy force on the other. And so anyways, I'm going to go clean some underwear right now, do some laundry, man, get this house clean before my kids get home. And until next time, I am out.